I've not come here to compete. I've come here to rule.
Esse ganhar quase de vezes consecutiva a bola de ouro para mim foi complicado. Depois dele ter ganho.
You're probably missing out on 90% of your life's opportunities simply because you don't know how to open your mouth at the right time. It's a brutal truth, whether you're a student, an engineer, or a future leader. My opinion on this is final. Our school system lied to us by teaching us how to fill out blank exam sheets, while real success belongs to those who know how to captivate an audience. Take Gaur Gopal, for example. He knows how to turn a moment of awkwardness into a total triumph when faced with a crowd that refuses to raise their hands.
बड़े साल कहते रहे तू शादी नहीं कर रहा, चार लोग क्या कहेंगे? वो चार लोग शादी में भी नहीं आए. वैसे काफी सारे आए.
He doesn't get angry. He uses humor to trap the audience and regain what we call frame control. But how does he maintain that control even under pressure?
फिर एक मराठी प्रोग्राम में गया बंबई में.
अच्छा जी.
तो मराठी प्रोग्राम में कहते हैं आज आपल्यामध्ये गोड गोपाल दास आले आहेत.
I'll reveal his secret to you in just a few minutes. The rhythm of the masters, the 3 Ps. Forget 400-page manuals. Everything comes down to rhythm and mastering what I call the 3 Ps. It all starts with the pause, a weapon of mass destruction that creates authority where others run out of breath. I remember back in my early days during a major presentation, I was so stressed that I blurted out my 10-minute script in just 3. Nobody understood a thing, and my boss asked if I had a train to catch. That's when I realized that silence is the engine of attention. You must also adjust your pace so you never seem rushed and vary your pitch like a roller coaster to avoid the sleep-inducing effect of a monotone voice. The psychology of connection and the name hack. Empathy isn't an option. It's a strategy for adapting to the other person's vibration. Much like when world leaders use Gen Z slang to create an instant connection. In my view, Starbucks isn't a coffee company. It's a psychology company selling you a sense of belonging for $5 just by writing your name on a cup. A person's name is the most powerful word in the human dictionary. By simply saying, "Great to see you, Thomas," instead of a generic greeting, you activate a social lever that most people ignore out of pure laziness. But be careful. Knowing a name isn't enough if you don't know how to feed what comes next. Honestly, this kind of hack can save your future relationships. If you've learned even one thing today, subscribe. It's your entry ticket for the rest of the masterclass. Threading and the art of infinite conversation. To never again suffer through that awkward silence where you end up asking, "How's it going?" On a loop, use the threading technique by bouncing off one of the other person's keywords. I sincerely believe that boring people don't exist. There are only listeners too distracted to find the common thread in someone else's speech. Communication is a physical muscle above all. I remember stuttering for a long time before discovering the pencil between the teeth technique. By practicing this way for 5 minutes a day, you force your muscles into perfect articulation, making your voice sharp as a razor blade and naturally eliminating hesitations. But is that enough to convince an opponent? The psychology of wit and the mirror question. Knowing how to speak isn't enough if you don't know how to influence, and that's where most people crash miserably the moment tension arises. My opinion on negotiation is radical. Most techniques you see online are traps that make you look like a low-level manipulator, whereas real influence should be invisible. Pay attention, because I'm going to give you the mirror question, the one that allows you to flip any objection in your favor without ever raising your voice. To understand influence, you must understand emotional reciprocity. I remember a fascinating study where a waiter increased his tips by over 20% simply by offering a second candy to his customers after the bill. In your conversations, your candy is active listening. If you make the other person feel like the smartest person in the room, they'll hand you their agreement on a silver platter. Storytelling, your battle armor. People forget facts, but they never forget how they felt. And that's where storytelling comes in to transform a mundane discussion into a memorable moment. My take is simple. If you don't know how to tell a story, your ideas will die with you in general indifference. A good story doesn't need to be heroic, it just needs to be vulnerable and authentic. Once I lost a huge contract because I wanted to seem too perfect, too expert, too polished. It was only when I admitted my own doubts to the client that he signed, because imperfection builds trust where perfection breeds suspicion. Learn to structure your anecdotes using the conflict action resolution framework. That's the texture that makes you human and therefore credible. Managing conflict without losing face. Now we get to managing frontal attacks. That moment when someone contradicts or tries to humiliate you in public. Your first instinct is to defend yourself, but that's exactly what they expect, so they can crush you under the weight of your own emotionality. To me, anger is the most glaring admission of weakness in a serious discussion. To use the famous mirror question I promised you, here is the secret. Instead of saying you're wrong, simply ask, what makes you say that? This simple phrase forces the other person to justify their aggression with facts, and 9 times out of 10, their argument collapses under the weight of its own illogic. You instantly shift from victim to calm observer, and in any room, the calm observer always holds the real power. Before we move on to the body language section, if you appreciate this unfiltered approach, let me know by liking the video. It lets me know you're still with me and that we can move to the next level. Identity and the mirror test. But before we wrap up, I want to open one last door with you. The door to your deep identity and how you view yourself. You can learn every technique in the world, but if deep down you don't think your voice deserves to be heard, you will subconsciously sabotage your efforts. I'm going to give you a 30-second exercise to do tonight that will reprogram your confidence much faster than any coaching book. Take a moment to subscribe if you don't want to miss future analyses, because we're going to go even deeper into understanding human mechanisms. The exercise is simple but formidable. Look yourself in the eyes in front of your mirror for 30 seconds without looking away and name just one thing you accomplished today. If you can't hold your own gaze in silence, how do you expect to hold the gaze of a recruiter or an entire audience? Communication starts with the dialogue you have with yourself before you even speak to the rest of the world. If you find these psychological tips valuable, drop a like. It helps the channel tremendously in hacking the algorithm so this message reaches others who need it, and it gives me a clear signal to keep this format going. Invisible power in action. Never forget that your words only account for 20% of your impact. The rest belongs to your body, from your gaze, which must be direct, to your hands, which serve as subtitles for your thoughts. By strengthening your speech and straightening your posture to project energy, you won't just be speaking anymore. You'll be commanding your presence magnetically. Theory is worthless without the arena, so get out there today, talk to the baker, test your pauses, and if you want to dominate through body language without saying a word, click on the video appearing now. See you there.